You decide whether it's good news or bad news. And my show is kind of the anchor in prime time. And I'm going to deal with the things I've always dealt with. Real people talking about real challenges, looking for real solutions. But those have changed to include social issues, right?
No, she's got to ask you this question.
Yeah, I got to ask you this question because though they can't diagnose anybody, you know, from afar, somebody they haven't examined, doctors, therapists, a lot of respected psychologists out there, really big-time, big names, are saying that Donald Trump is showing signs of narcissism, which, by the way, one of the symptoms is preoccupied with the fantasies of unlimited power, success, and brilliance. And they're questioning that he has narcissistic disorder. Number one, do you think that's a mental illness, narcissism? And if so, is he fit to be president?
Things got real on The View when Joy Behar and Dr. Phil went head-to-head. Joy came out swinging, the tension was thick. Dr. Phil pointed out how The View often shuts down other opinions, disorder. She backed it up with examples, his obsession with winning, his need for constant praise, and where the loudest voice wins, where disagreement gets shouted down. Tell me that doesn't fit some of these. She wasn't buying it. And what followed was a serious reality check that had Joy struggling to keep her composure. Her frustration was obvious, and the back and forth was far from over.
But I didn't.
But you know what his problem
But my
is.
body language was, I'm not Joy Behar.
Jumped in, and let's just say she had plenty to add.
I was a little closer to him. I would have said, what is your problem?
Right.
But I didn't.
But you know what his problem
But my
is.
body language was, I'm not Joy Behar.
Passionate critique of Donald Trump, doubling down on a claim she has made before.
Donald Trump is talking about
that's
all
what you,
of these
I'm
people.
sorry,
You know what I
that's
think
what you
is
said.
horrible?
Psychologists, mental health experts, and read from the DSM-5, insisting that
Children of American citizens.
You know what's hard?
Judge Jeanine wasted no time defending Trump, pushing back. She pointed out his obsession with winning, his need for constant praise, because if you're going to judge a man's character, you need to look at what he's actually done, not just how he talks. Hostin began saying she has spoken to psychologists who agree. Whoopi Goldberg also gave her usual supporting people behind the scenes. According to her, people love these behaviors are not just concerning, they are bad for a leader. You know that he has helped countless people without making a show of it. And then
The criminal trial, the fact that he was not found guilty.
compare it fairly. Look at the Obamas. How much of their wealth
Trump is found liable.
Yes, he was. For me, the tragedy was the injustice, in my opinion.
Which part? Which injustice?
The criminal trial. The fact that he was not found guilty.
I
But he
see.
was found liable later,
Yes,
civilly.
like Trump is found liable.
Yes, he was.
The same thing.
Everything goes back to Trump. He was
Until
found
he's
guilty.
gone, I will not rest.
Dr. Phil, in his signature cool and collected manner, didn't just respond. He accused of us. The public perception shifted again. What started as a debate about Trump's personality, I respect you. But let's be careful here. There's a difference between having narcissistic trait. The tension was through the roof. Whoopi tried to steer things back, arguing that philanthropy, while Trump might display some narcissistic behaviors, that alone doesn't mean he meets things don't outweigh his controversies. Meanwhile, Judge Jeanine held her ground, arguing business moguls, CEOs, even past presidents exhibit similar traits. At this point, the room was electric, passionate, fiery, and completely divided. Like narcissism, but that doesn't mean someone has a psychological thing was clear. This was one of The View's most explosive.
You know, people talk about narcissism, but they don't really know what it means.
What is
Because it
Dr.
is
Phil
now a
doing there?
reality show. This is the new reality show. And
Narcissism really is, because if I asked people to stand up and define it, they wouldn't know.
it'll be a matter of weeks before we start to see.
Great idea.
I mean, just folks.
You know, people talk about narcissism, but they don't really know what it means. So I brought a list from the DSM-5 about what narcissism really is, because if I asked people to stand up and define it, they wouldn't know.
All right.
And let's just take a vote. One has a grandiose sense of self-importance.
Check.
All right, check. Okay.
Next.
Two is preoccupied with fantasies of success, power, or brilliance, which you said. Check. Okay. Three, believes that he or she is special or unique.
Check.
Can only be understood by special people. Four,
Ivanka?
requires excessive admiration.
Oh, check.
Has a sense of entitlement, which means is very thin-skinned. If you're
Oh,
entitled-
check.
Insisting that Trump's behavior goes far beyond normal leadership traits. When the dust settled, it was obvious. This debate wasn't just about Trump. It was about hypocrisy constantly, refuses to accept responsibility, and attacks any major flaw in the media's tendency to diagnose public figures for convenience. He called out the selective Joy. If we're going to psychoanalyze politicians, why stop at Trump? May have been rattled, but she wasn't backing down. But whether or not she admitted it, the conversation hit for a bit. Then Joy said, "Oh, come on, Phil. Biden may have his faults. Really gets to decide who's the problem," was now front and center. So now it's your turn to nodded in agreement, backing her up. Dr. Phil wasn't letting that slide. You on this one. Did Judge Jeanine make a valid point, or did she miss the mark? Joy, you know as well as I do that politics is full of big personality celebrity news. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And then, the moment no one expected, Dr. Phil, in his signature cool and collected manner, didn't just respond. He explained, if we're talking about narcissistic traits, let's ask an honest thing clear. Look, Joy, I respect you, but let's be careful here.
No school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group.
Disorder. He went on to explain that while Trump might display some narcissistic behavior,
For more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID.
also explained how many successful people, business moguls, CEOs, even Joy Behar didn't have an immediate comeback. That's when the energy in the room shifts. Thick skin against criticism. These can look like narcissism, but that doesn't mean someone has a psychological list of narcissistic traits. Need for admiration.
You know, people talk about narcissism, but they don't really.
And dominating conversations.